Hi, welcome. So the title of today's webinar is Your Technology Choices and Data Strategy Decisions Matter. So I've added on a little bit about data strategy. I think that's pretty important subject at the moment, and it relates quite heavily to the decisions you make around the technology for your business. If you want to chip in, as I say, there's only a couple of us on here. Andrew's just joined. But feel free just to chip in and ask me to clarify anything or go into a bit more detail. So my name is Lee Woodman. So I run a digital marketing consultancy called Visit Digital. So we specialize in kind of digging deep into the data sets that kind of exist in your organization. So it could be mining analytics or Search Console or the business strategy side of things. So I'm a bit of a data geek myself. So I suppose one of the subjects that we're going to touch on today ultimately is how those technology decisions that we make and the data side of things, how that impacts on sales and leads. So kind of the average conversion rate for websites is 2%. So we only need to nudge one extra person over the line to increase our conversion rate or revenue, by 50%. And, that's that extra one person in 98 that if we can nudge them over the line, then, we have a significant impact on revenue and leads. And it's very simple things that can have an impact. So what we tend to see is that the decisions that businesses make very early on in their life cycles can hang around for a long time. So not always easy to make the right decisions at the beginning, but hopefully we can give you some tips along the way, or we'll retrospectively look at it. So as I said, we're going to use conversion rates to sale and to lead as a metric that we're going to benchmark what impact technology choices have. So the technology choices that we make can have significant impacts on that conversion rate, and that's a desired action that somebody's going to make. So that could be filling a form out or making a purchase, whatever it might be. Something as simple as improving the user experience on your website can make it more likely that people are going to convert to sales. So that could be bringing call to actions above the fold. Quite simple things like that can have quite an impact. So, choosing a user-friendly or responsive website, understanding the differences between your mobile and desktop audiences we tend to focus on desktop, but especially if you're industrial, you probably are more desktop orientated. If you're in retail, there's going to be a heavy lean there on mobile. So even when we're getting our websites rebuilt, it's important to understand what technology your customers are using so you can focus your efforts in there. Let's dig in. So as you can see, my presentation skills are not the best, but I'm going to spend a lot of time on this slide, I think. So previously, our kind of business data or business stack was very fragmented. So we had a website which sat over here. We might have had customer relationship manager or CRM sitting on this side, and none of these things talk effectively together. So if we look at a typical business stack, if you like, so you've got your business layer. So this is the highest level of your organization's technology stack. So it represents the ways in which technology is used to support and enable the organization's processes and activities. And then the data layer. So if you look at it, that's the foundation of your technology stack. So all of your data is feeding into your technology, which is feeding into your business layer. So that technology stack includes, your systems, your tools, your processes, and they're used to kind of manage and store your organization's data. So it's in that space, in that technology and layer, if you like. That's where we can accelerate most businesses if they haven't really concentrated on that side of it. So some key like components of that business layer. So that's your sales, marketing, customer service, customer experience side of things. So that sits at the top. And then we got our business applications like software, tools, you know, it could be CRM, customer relationship manager, that kind of ERP space. It depends on your kind of organization, whether you've got one of those. And then we've got our business intelligence and analytics. So these are the technologies that are used to collect, analyze data. So that could be Google Analytics, could be something a bit more sophisticated, but it's those insights then that we can make decisions against, hopefully. So when we come down to the data layer, and this is where quite a lot of businesses are not perhaps paying enough attention to what data they're gathering about their customers and how they're actually utilizing that data further down the line. But the crux of it are that we need to think about the architecture of our data layer inside the businesses. So some of the key components of that data layer, so data management and storage, so the systems and tools that actually capture that data in the first place. If you're a big organization, a lot of customers, that could involve like a data warehouse, or it could be a simple database. Equally, it could be a CRM in terms of the structure of the data that's going inside that CRM. And then we've got, you know, data access and integration. So these are processes and technologies that are used to connect different data sources together. So a lot of businesses are not connecting. It could be web chat and their CRM, you know, so there's an opportunity for those leads that are coming through web chat to basically not get actions. They never end up in the CRM, and then they're never actioned upon by a sales team or followed up on. So out of your data layer, quite often you can define things like APIs. So if you've got products which are very specific to your business that, I don't know, you want to give to other people in terms of the data side of it, then that's where kind of APIs and data integration platforms come in. And then we got kind of data security and governance. I'm not going to really touch on that side of it too much, but you know, there's obviously a responsibility and compliance situation there in regards to like encryption and access, who's got access to that data. So I'm going to give you a demo of what I mean by kind of data layer, and perhaps some ways you can think about how you can enrich that data. So this is a website to work on, and what I'm going to show you is common. You know, I'm not showing you any trade secrets or anything. This is all publicly available data. So when we're interacting with like the front end of this website, you know, it's basically a car review. Visually, you can see all the information, pros and cons, get a new one, leasing deals, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of stuff, you know, and then description of the product. What we're not seeing is what the company is gathering and learning about us from an analytics perspective. So we can use something called Data Slayer. And this is looking at the kind of behind the scenes information that this website is pushing into their analytics. So this is a Google Analytics hit, if you like. So Google Analytics has fired and it's started to gather this data. So they're pushing against my session. So against the session that I'm interacting with right now, they're pushing the fact that, you know, we're looking at cars, we're looking at in-depth reviews, brand of the website, we've got Tesla, we got the Tesla model, and we've got the Tesla individual spec of that car. It's defined as an article. And what else have we got? Something about direct newsletter. Not sure what that means. Maybe I originally came in from a news article, from a newsletter. What else have we got? And then they got some other information, which I got no idea what some of this is. So what they're actually able to do is then when they come to analyze their Google Analytics data, or they could be using something like Google BigQuery or some other big mining operation, is they can pivot the data by different metrics. So they could say, right, we want to segment our audience by people who have registered on our website. If this was a software as a service business, they might register and say, you know, I want 6 seats. So if you get 500 people who do that similar thing, and then you're able to build up an audience, you might want to say further down the line, right, we want to go back to market and we only want to retarget with our kind of Google Ads campaigns people who have registered on the website, said they want 6 seats on a bit of software, but they've never actually converted. We want to build up a profile of that audience and go back to market, remarket them, but we also want to find lookalike audiences. So that's what you're able to do with your data layer. So you can enrich the information that you're gathering about your audiences, so that further down the line you can kind of pivot it against some of the information which is not necessarily available just on the front end of the website as a standard kind of Google Analytics integration, for example. So to give you another example, if you look at this website.
May I ask a question, Lee?
Yep.
You know, with all the data they're gathering from here,
yep,
would they need to be setting up goals and such for them? So clicks, scrolls?
Not necessarily. So they
Okay.
could be firing them in as custom dimensions or custom metrics. So are you using Google Analytics 4?
Yeah.
So yeah, they could be setting up custom dimensions or analytics, or one of the things that we do on this website. So if you go to reviews and we have a look at what have we got? Let's pick one of these cars. Brands. I'm taking the long way around, yeah. I bet I'm not going to get it now. No. So let's go Audi. So these buttons here, these are just standard CTA buttons that we include on the website. But one example that we're looking at with this one is that we enrich this Google Analytics click event with all of this other data. So make, model, you know, it'll be price, be, you know, so you're essentially enriching this interaction.
Okay.
And then that allows you to, you know, to use it further down the line, essentially.
Okay. Okay.
So, you know, the data layer for a lot of businesses, each one's going to be unique. But yeah, it's worth thinking about, you know, what kind of information do we want to gather about our audiences. And quite often SEO actually starts, my background is kind of SEO. So SEO actually starts in the way that we define the database of the website content. So because that then allows us to pull out certain information onto the front end of the website and, you know, use those values in different ways to benefit us in an SEO capacity. So again, that's a data layer kind of definition. So
okay.
Cool. Let's go. So yeah, that tool is called Data Slayer. So that's a that is a Chrome extension, which you can use that to browse any website. So okay, so when we kind of say our technology choices matter, it's quite difficult to, before we make that decision, it's sometimes quite hard to see what the impact of it's going to be further down the line. So my pasting didn't quite work out here, but essentially this is Google Analytics. So if you're in e-commerce, you've got a couple of different choices of platform that you're going to going to use. So you've got WooCommerce, you've got Shopify, you've got Magento, probably got another 10 kind of options, nowhere near as common as these two, but you've probably got another 10 options that you could use. So when we're deciding on what we're going to build here, Shopify for a lot of web agencies is still something that a lot of them are not familiar with, because, you know, with Shopify, you get 95% of the stuff out of the box. And I think your traditional web agencies may or have previously struggled to see how they're going to make money from that. So they may be pushing WordPress or, you know, whatever platform they want. The decision whether you go with WordPress or Shopify is probably going to cost you 10% of your revenue. That's my opinion, just on the checkout. So how effective people can get through the checkout. One of these is going to cost you, in terms of loss, probably 10% of your revenue, because it's just not particularly slick exit from the checkout. And the checkout is one of the key elements of getting people to convert. So even just in these two, so it's a bit of a tricky one to give an example of, but this is a WordPress WooCommerce website. Average session duration for people that convert to sale, 9 minutes 42 seconds. Average session duration for Shopify, 7 minutes 25. And so we're already looking at a pretty significant time difference in those in the experiences of those two users. And a lot of that extra time is spent in the checkout, just getting through the process, whereas Shopify using something called Shop Pay, and yeah, you can check out, if you've already used other Shopify websites, which there are like 2 million of those, you can exit that site very, very quickly. And, you know, that is going to significantly increase the speed at which people get out, consequently increase the conversion rate. So, you know, just an example there of, it's very easy to choose this, sometimes not quite as easy to choose that at the moment, because agencies are familiar with WordPress, but they don't necessarily know the knock-on effect that that choice is going to have on your business sales. So, you know, that's one example of where technology can have quite a significant impact. So any questions on that? Similar thing for, like, you know, lead forms. I mean, if you ask for a phone number on your contact forms, that's probably going to reduce your conversion rate on that form by up to like 5%, I think it is. So it's like, you know, less feels the better, you know, depending on what space you're in and what information you're trying to gather. You know, phone number might be absolutely critical, but if it's not, you want the least barrier to entry to get somebody over the line. So anything like captures, form captures, or anything that's going to stop that user moving forward, you know, you've got to think about the knock-on effect of that in terms of users. Do you remember the old capture forms where you've got to type in the text?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
You know, they reckon that that's costing you 40% of your conversions. And so I think we kind of assume that because we can get through it, but a lot of people massively struggle with those. So then they get it wrong and they've got to redo it. And yeah, there was a bit of research done where they reckon it impacts conversion rate by 40%.
Wow.
It's very, you know, very easy. Yeah, pretty horrific, to be fair. So I kind of mentioned earlier that everything historically has been very fragmented, as all our data has never really swam in the same pool. And, you know, that's a lot to do with systems didn't talk to each other. You know, the systems just weren't out there to be able to do that. So when it comes to like a unified data strategy, so what I mean by that is all your data from all your different sources is swimming and interacting with each other together. So one of the benefits of that is that you're going to get better accuracy and reliability of the data. So, you're going to establish more consistent processes for collecting, storaging, and managing it. And if data is coming in from different platforms, you can make it consistently in the same format, for example. And then if you're doing that, then that's going to help you make better decisions with that data. So, an example of that is kind of the web chat scenario, where if you've got web chat on your website, but it's not connected to your CRM, then you're missing out on all of that kind of insight from web chat aligned to your maybe sale or customer support, customer service, that kind of stuff. So, and then the other way is you've got a more comprehensive view of your business by bringing all that data together. And then that's going to help you kind of identify new opportunities, trends. If you're collecting all of that web chat data, as an example, you're going to see the same questions people ask over and over again. And then that's going to kind of help inform your content strategy or FAQs on your website, or whatever you want to do with that insight. If somebody's asking the same thing and they want some kind of version of a product which you haven't got, then that goes into new product development and helps inform that. So some of that data, for example, coming out of your site search tools. So don't underestimate the value of this data. It's super valuable from a business insight perspective, because this is what people are telling you they're looking for. So, they could navigate, but I mean, this website's got 3,500 products. So they just tell you what they want in that search box, and they expect, to surface relevant results. Some things we haven't got, but then if we haven't got it and we see enough of it, then analytics. So all this is logged in analytics, and we can look at that, see what no results we've got, and then we can kind of feed back to new product development. So all of this stuff talking together. Now, one of the things which I'm particularly interested in around CRMs is how you attribute source. So if you're in a B2B environment, that kind of deal pipeline can last for, it could be a week, or it could be 2 years, depending on what it is you're selling. So if you're driving traffic in from sources that are paid, so whether it's paid or organic, you want to know not only where the lead came from, but you want to be able to follow that conversion to its completion and be able to reinvest in the channels that work for the business. So this is where your CRM kind of connectivity plays a very important part. So the CRM choice, if we come down here, so it's a demo I do sometimes. So my website has changed recently. So what they're seeing there is slightly different, but this form that's here, this is actually a native one to the website, but it's connected to HubSpot CRM. And when this data gets piped in to the CRM, I get a timeline of activity from that user that submitted it. And the most critical bit of information that it contains is this. So where that contact was created from. So in this instance, Tim contacted me a long time ago, 2018, and he came from organic social on LinkedIn. It's just one of the posts I put with my domain name in there for whatever reason. He clicked on that, came in, had a browse of the website. We only had one page website at that time. Looked at it over a couple of different, 4 or 5 minutes, and then he basically submitted this contact form. Now, this played out over probably a week or two, I think. Never actually ended up converting, but I know that channel worked for me as a lead generator. So if you've got, loads of leads coming into your CRM, if you don't know that information, it's very difficult to go back to market and spend money on, or time and investment in getting more people from there, because I'm not sure whether it worked or not. So that bit of information from a CRM, especially at B2B level, is super important. And that's where this kind of unified data play comes into its own, really. Any questions on that? That one is, if your CRM doesn't do that, it's not impossible to pipe that data in, because that information is gathered in a cookie behind the scenes. So you can grab that information and then just programmatically push that into your CRM. Basically, it's in there somewhere in here. So you'll get referral. I might not have it because I probably went direct. Your kind of developers who ever built your site can probably extract that data, and then you can just post it into your CRM as part of your lead flow.
I was wondering if you have a recommendation for a Shopify store to collect data like that. Very hyper specific. Apologies.
Yeah, so you want to gather referral information and push it. You're probably better off pushing it into the data layer.
Okay.
What information do you want to gather?
Well, I want to know when I make a sale on Shopify, and I'm probably the information is probably available, but anyway, I want to know if I make a sale, what source they came from, basically, and of the pages that they looked at.
Okay. In Google Analytics.
Best place is Google Analytics. Okay.
Yeah, probably GA4. GA4 is still a bit in its infancy. Well, from a kind of market knowledge side of what you can do with it, but you can basically load up the sale with almost an infinite number of like key value pairs. So, country this, I mean, some of that is coming from Google Analytics anyway, but if you wanted to bring in, like, I don't know, number of products they previously looked at, you could load up the kind of conversion information with pretty much as much data as you want to push in there, really.
Okay.
So,
I'm assuming there's like a resource somewhere in the Google Analytics Academy how to do that.
Yes. So one thing that we're looking at the moment for another client is being able to push like a hashed user ID into Google Analytics. So what that will allow us to do from SaaS like website perspective is isolate people off that are already customers, so they're already logged in.
Mm-hmm.
So we can take those people effectively out of Google Analytics. So we can just analyze new customers or new people that are browsing the website.
Cool.
So yeah, that kind of logged in, logged out, how many orders they've previously done, because if you know that you've got somebody back on the website, they've already made 5 orders with you, well, you can pull in their data and it's like, hey, Sean, welcome back to the website. You can do lots of personalization. Yeah, so personalization has a massive effect on conversion rate. So again, with HubSpot, you can do HubSpot landing pages, and you can utilize all your contact information to personalize that website exclusively to that person. It's like, that in itself is a game changer. Don't see that very often, but personalization of any kind has a big impact on conversion rate, because you're talking directly to a specific customer.
Cool.
Yeah. So in your instance,
sorry.
Go on, Leanne.
Carry on.
I was going to say, in Sean's instance, he has a couple of different customer profiles. So if it's a B2B or like a business customer, you may differ the experience that person has on the website.
Yeah. Cool.
Go on, Leanne.
I was just going to ask regarding that personalized landing pages. Is that like in emails where it will personalize to each individual, or is it just for one specific person?
Individual.
Okay.
So it could say, I mean, if it's your website, in an extreme example, it could say, I'm not actually changing this, and it's like, welcome back, Lee.
Okay.
And that's been extracted from, or that value is being pulled out of your CRM.
Okay.
So that kind of stuff is still in its infancy, but HubSpot supports that. We know personalization has a big impact on conversion rate. Even if you just do it by type of customer, you don't need to necessarily go down to like the individual customer, but if you do it by the type, then that's going to be somewhat effective. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what's the kind of commercial value of some of these technology choices? So speed is quite an easy one for me to articulate what the impact is on revenue. So there's this Google Deloitte report. So we'll send the deck round after, but Google and Deloitte did a joint report basically looking at the impact of 100 milliseconds on conversion rate, which is a very, very small amount of time. So I mean, if I just demo what 100 milliseconds is, so the difference between these two hitting the deck is 100 milliseconds. Okay, so they looked at the impact of improving each step here by 100 milliseconds. Yeah, so interestingly, going from the home page to product listing had the opposite effect, but not very many people as a percentage of traffic come in on your homepage. Most of them come in here. If they do come in on the homepage, they're probably more, they know your brand, so they're probably more forgiving of performance anyway. But increasing the speed from here to there, product listing page to product detail, just 100 milliseconds got 3.2% more people to go through to that next stage. And going from product detail to add to basket was 9%. 100 milliseconds is just a ridiculously short amount of time, but you can see the impact it has on conversion. Well, not just conversion, actually getting them through your checkout or basket or whatever experience it is. So if we have a look, we'll do this one. So 100 milliseconds, when you first registered your domain name, it could have been through 123reg, it could be through GoDaddy. They give you what's called name servers. Those name servers are not particularly performant. So 123reg, you're looking at 100 millisecond delay. So when you type in www.axionprocessing.com, hit return, 123reg is already causing you 100 millisecond delay just in terms of looking up its name servers. So if you switch to something like Cloudflare, you immediately save yourself 100 milliseconds, and in theory that is having a pretty big impact on the kind of movement or progression through your site. So if you want some actual numbers, so in retail, that 100 milliseconds had an 8.4% increase in conversion rate, which is just insane. Most of the websites we deal with are seconds too slow, never mind 100 milliseconds. So 8.4% conversion rate, 9.2% in average order value. If you're in travel, it was a 10% increase. We have a look at the next one. That's a bit more B2B. So for lead generation, so I've not looked at your website in depth, Jan, but do you have like blog posts and other informational pages which kind of support the products in like the marketing funnel, if you like? So
yes, yeah.
So those pages, that 100 milliseconds, could pretty significantly have an impact on your bounce rate.
That's crazy. I'm using 123reg as my name server at the moment. I'm definitely fixing that after this call.
I'm definitely looking into it too.
So, it's like people just don't realize that, that's even causing them an issue. It's just something that's, I don't know, only came across by accident, really.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it's the little things, really. I think if you look at business from a layer perspective, it's like where are all the bottlenecks within each step of that. It's not easy to fix some things. I mean, Shopify is probably not the fastest platform out there, but compared to the others, purely just on the checkout, it obliterates the competition.
Yeah.
So, and then, it's in Shopify's interest to get that performance up because, we're just looking at these numbers, it's, they make more money. If you sell more, they make more as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's kind of last slide really. So, how do we make the right choices? Well, it's not easy. But if you look at what are the objectives, what's the actual outcome? So one thing that happens is when you go to a web agency and you ask them to build you a new website, doesn't mean that they are necessarily looking at it from a digital marketing and analytics performance perspective. So they may not be aware of this report. They may not have seen the impact that 100 milliseconds has. So they may just kind of dismiss that and not really take it on board. And then you've got, thorough research and analysis, so see what's out there. I think a key thing is speak to people either who are using platforms or companies that are doing really well. What are they using? You quite often see companies that are using bits of software, because we can find out what software other people use with something called Built With. So if you have a look at that Chrome extension, even Built With, and you run that against other websites, you can see a lot of information. So, I mean, I'll do it on yours, Leanne. Let's see what we got. Built With. So I can see you've got Hotjar using Google Analytics. You've got Yoast Premium, Yoast SEO Premium. It's like loads of stuff. You're using Cookie Consent by Asano, using Talk. I mean, I can see that. But so, when you start looking at competitors, you can build a picture of what's going on. You're also using MailChimp. Did I get all those things right?
Yeah. I'm surprised by a lot of the plugins.
Yeah. So, that's quite useful to see from a competitor perspective. And then I think one of the big ones is involve key stakeholders. We've got a situation at the moment where decent sized organization two actually are making CRM choices, but they're only looking at it from a sales perspective. It's like they're not really thinking about the journey that data's taken to begin with. So, that CRM is kind of in isolation when actually the marketing team is what I found are one of the key stakeholders in that decision-making process, because they're going to be looked on going, right, well, who's buying, or they're going to be asking the question, who is buying? We've sent you 100 leads. How many of those actually bought anything? And they're not going to be able to get that answer. And then consequently, they're not going to be confident enough or have the confidence to go back to market and, double the budget or triple the budget or whatever that might be. So yeah, that's stakeholders are the key ones at all kind of levels, really. And then, regularly review and evaluate. So quite a good example is MailChimp. Used to be kind of the dominant force in email marketing, and it's still up there. But then you've got Klaviyo, and it's probably more related to Sean and Shopify. But Klaviyo has a very, very deep integration with Shopify, and you can consequently make a lot more segmentation. You can take your Shopify data and say, right, I only want to target people who have bought X, Y, and Z in the last 2 months, and they're a B2B customer, and it'll generate you a segmented list based on that kind of behavior. So yeah, that's kind of one example of that. Yeah, I think that's
I've just used the built with on my website, and I've just identified that I've got a bunch of apps on there that is probably slowing down my website that I need to get rid of.
yeah, could be costing you a few quid as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the name of that plugin that you just mentioned?
Built with.
Built with, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, really good for kind of competitor analysis to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
So you can put your URL in, and it'll just give you a list of not only what they're using, but what they've used previously as well. So they change platform. So if you're looking at a third-party tool like SEMrush, and you run one of your competitors through here, if there's not a good example, thriver.co, I think, what happened here. So well, on built with, you can look historically and go, oh yeah, they changed platform, they didn't do it properly. Or the opposite, if traffic's gone through the roof, it's like, well, what do they do in April? And then built with can give you some answers in that regard.
Okay. Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Any questions or anything you want to dig a bit deeper on?
I mean, I could go on forever, but I'll keep it nice and easy. I love the idea of unifying data into one swimming pool, so to speak. Do you have any recommendations for doing that?
I think it's almost having an end game of what do you want to do with that data to begin with. What would be useful from your business perspective? So if you're doing e-commerce sales, it could be enriching that conversion data with the type of customer they are, so that would involve you kind of, well, as I say, enriching that data. So then you can go back to analytics and you can filter those people out. Excuse me.
So I could manually, for instance, tag that, or I can even in the checkout, potentially after the checkout, just ask, oh, what type of customer are you? And if they answer, great. If they don't, it hasn't affected my conversions.
That's it. Let me grab you. Load this one up. So bring that one in there. So this is just my account on Google Analytics 4. If you go configure, this has changed recently. It's got admin, and then you got like custom definitions. So you can create. So you'd create custom definitions here. You could do that programmatically or manually. So you could say, what's the scope of the event, and you could say customer type, and then you're going to say, is this a B2B or B2C customer? So you define that in here. We haven't got a user property which we're going to use, but you do that there, and then in audiences you can build an audience against that custom information. So
excellent. Yeah.
So yeah, it's and you can do predictive. So if you've got decent traffic, you can use predictive analytics for various things.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, I've installed recently Google Tag Manager and used a Hello app to help me do that. And they're grabbing so much data now. It's amazing. Like before, we only had like 5 bits of data that we were collecting. I think it's 20 plus bits of data that they're collecting now. So I've got lots of data to play with in the future.
Nice. Yeah. No, it's crazy. Yeah, there's lots of opportunities.
Just to confirm I'm following correctly, what Sean's just asked now, that basically covers enriching CTA buttons, doesn't it? As well. Yeah.
So like when you come to, I'll just give you a quick example if you got a minute.
Sure.
If we go, what can I grab? Have I got my website? Yeah, I'll just use this one. as an example. So if we go tags, I'm going to use I'm going to do a new GA4 event, and then you got your event parameters. So in here, you can have as many of these as you want. So, so whatever event you're going to fire, you could say, you know, customer type, and then this value is dynamic based on data that's coming out of like Shopify, or you've been able to analyze who it is and say, yep, that's B2C. Okay, we're going to fire that off. And then in Google Analytics, you're going to be able to filter your reports by that customer type. So this filter, you can build out, you know, your custom things will appear in here basically. So, yeah.
A quick question then, where's the best place to learn more about using Google Analytics?
I don't know really. It's definitely Google Analytics 4. It's just very, very little knowledge around at the moment. I mean, bizarrely, a company got in touch with me on last week and wanted some work on it, and I was kind of winging it really. You know, it was
fair play.
You know, it was kind of just seeing what they wanted and trying to kind of determine. It's relatively intuitive when you get in there, but yes, the learning curve is pretty steep with this one. It's not like universal analytics.
And that's the key thing that you keep saying, is like you actually need to know what you're looking to achieve before you implement anything. You just need to know the objective, and then when you have that, you can determine, okay, how am I going to achieve it?
That's it. You know, I mean, on this contact us page, I don't know what kind of information you gather. Okay, so let's say there was another 5 fields in there. You'd want to push, you know, or you may want to push that data inside here. You know, it's like the name was this, or that. You got to be careful what you do gather, but you might gather industry. You know?
Yeah.
If you know the industry is engineering from those leads, you're going to be able to segment, and you're going to be able to use that audience in Audience Builder to go to market and target them. Because this feeds directly then into Google Ads.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I might be asking a stupid question now. You know where you showed us the Auto Express, I think it was, example, and you were saying that you had the values for 200,000. It's basically adding those values into those fields then. Is that right?
Give me an example.
So you were looking at a review for the Audi.
Yeah.
And you had all the data underneath the button.
Yes. So that so basically that would be an event. So on click. So this is a, you know, get your Google Analytics tag, and then you know, make Tesla Model 3.
Okay, cool. Sure. Okay, just making sure I understood that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can see here that this is the data layer. So this is, it's a bit more, it's not specifically Google Analytics, but it's just the kind of the data layer that sits behind Chrome. I think this is nothing really to do with Google, but they utilize it. And then you can basically hold information in the data layer. So largest contentful paint was 497 milliseconds for this load. Cumulative layer shift was 182. That's all being fed into Google Search Console. So you can push any kind of data in here that you want, and then you can hook it out with Tag Manager. So yeah, it's a bit of a minefield. I mean, you can do you can see here categories, makes, product families. I mean, I've got no idea what they're doing with this stuff, but yeah, lots of info on there.
So what would things like could you say CLS, CSL? What would that sort of tell you then?
So cumulative layer shift is a metric. So have you got access to Google Search Console?
I believe so.
Yeah. So if we have a look at my website, I might not have enough traffic to get the data, but yeah. So Core Web Vitals is the kind of metric that Google's using from a page experience perspective. So the data that you're seeing here, CLS 182, is being fed straight into this report.
Okay.
And Google is going to give you a Core Web Vitals score against that.
Okay. I see what you mean.
I do this is one of my other websites, which is very poor. But yeah, so this is saying that we've got 14 pages on the website. They're very poor in terms of Core Web Vitals. That's I mean, if this was an e-commerce website, that would probably be costing me money, in terms of loss. So yeah, so we got 0% good URLs on mobile or desktop.
Oh dear.
It's a heavily ad-driven website, that one. So yeah, got to weigh it up.
Good luck.
There you go.
Okay. Oh, I was just saying good luck.
Ping us, any questions you got. Ping them over. I don't mind answering. And then Lisa, I think you were going to send around the slides.
Yeah, if you send those over to me, as always, as soon as you send your AG3 signed back into me, I can send any materials out then. Sean's pretty good. He's one of my teacher's pets. He's very good getting his forms in there. So, Leanne, I think you're new to the in the webinars and things. It's just literally an AG3 that comes through via HelloSign. It's just to let the government know that you attended and that we took place today. So if you get that back to me as soon as possible, that would be fab. And you'll have another one come out today because, the one that came this morning was for yesterday because I did take the day off. And then I'll send one out this afternoon for today's one as well. And I think Lee is back with us next, is it Wednesday and Thursday next week, I think?
Yes.
For the last two of yours. And I think you're both booked on, if I remember. So
yes, yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah. So if anything you think of, just get back in touch. And then we'll see you next week.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Great.
Brilliant.
Have a good afternoon. We might do Christmas jumpers next week and you have to put your cameras on.
Oh no.
I'm up for that.
Okay. I'll do it then as well.
Have a good one. I'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Bye.